Daniel Carmon, former ambassador of Israel to India, is also joining us. Ambassador Carmon, appreciate you taking out the time and speaking with us. I hope you can hear me, sir.
I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you loud and clear, sir. Good to see you smiling and happy, and thank you for joining us. Well, there's this new escalation on behalf of Iran at the behest of its partners, which includes the Hezbollah, Hamas and Houthis. Mr. Netanyahu did come out. He conducted a press conference in which he said that this was a failed attack, yet we are learning that there were some rockets, there were some maneuverable rockets that were able to penetrate cities like Tel Aviv and some of the surrounding areas. Can you confirm to that, sir? And then we'll talk about what is the stance that Israel is going to take amidst this heavy escalation.
First of all, don't misinterpret my smile. I'm smiling because I'm glad to see you and to speak to your audience, but the situation is very, very complicated. What we've seen yesterday, it's the second time within a few months that a member state of the United Nations, which has declared more than once that he wants to see the annihilation of the other member state of the United Nations, meaning Iran wants as an end game to see the destruction of Israel. I don't know if people can believe, but this is something that is real. For the second time in a few months, a barrage of rockets, missile, drones in April was switched to a barrage of 181 to be exact, ballistic missiles, which are very quick and relatively precise. Luckily, we have our defense system, the Iron Dome and the Arrow 3 that you, I'm sure, know very well or heard about.
Sure.
And luckily, we have a coalition of countries that helped us, because the threat from the attack on Israel is not only an Israeli concern, it should be a concern of many, many moderate countries around our region and around the world. So yes, we have our system. There were some damage. I mean, out of 181 ballistic missiles, most are intercepted either outside the atmosphere or outside the territory of Israel, but some do penetrate. And yes, there is some damage. I don't want to confirm, I don't want to talk about, but it's really negligible when you look at the size of this barrage and this brutal attack by one member state towards the other.
So what do you think is going to be, the stance of some of the other countries that have been supporting Iran and have been supporting Palestine? Do you think this particular escalation has the likelihood of having more powers jump into this particular situation? And what is going to be Israel's preparation and tactics and strategy? We all know that the Americans are on standby actively right now supporting Israel.
So first of all, if I were a Palestinian, I would have been offended by being put in the same phrase with Iran. Iran is an extremist regime. Iran has been amassing capabilities. Iran has been playing with proxies for decades now, starting in 1980s when they killed hundreds of American and French Marines. And there is a long list, I can send it to you if you want, a long list of terrorist attacks by Hezbollah as a proxy of Iran. The Iranians, a state, were hiding behind terrorist organizations and helping them, financing them, training them, etc., etc. One is Hamas in our south, one is Hezbollah in our north, the Houthis in Yemen, etc., etc. For the past year, and if you remember, and I'm sure you remember what happened on October 7th, the barbaric medieval attack, rape, mutilation, burning alive of people, killing, kidnapping, and we still have 101 hostages in Gaza. For the past year, Israel has been confronting seven different fronts. 7 fronts. Hezbollah in the north, out of Lebanon, Hamas from Gaza, Iraq, Syria, the West Bank, Iran, 7 different fronts that we had to confront. And as an Israeli citizen, I'm very proud to say that we endured, that we prevailed, and we will continue to prevail. What will happen after yesterday, which was, I think, the hardest and biggest attack ever with ballistic missiles in human history, it will not go unanswered, and every country, every state, including India, I hope, or the United States, I hope, or others who would be subject to such an attack would retaliate. This cannot go by unanswered, and it will happen when the Israeli government will decide for it to happen, and we'll do it, of course, in coordination with our American friends and maybe other friends from the region.
Ambassador Carmon, in fact, the Prime Minister also professed support for Israel. You've been here, you've lived in this part of the world. That was a very predictable response from the Prime Minister because, of course, the two peoples, India and Israel, they share a lot in common. And the support for each other during times of trouble has been unequivocal. What did you make of that? And obviously, this is something which India has happily endorsed and even called out that whatever has happened by or whatever has been done by Iran, sir, is no less than a terrorist attack.
It's definitely a terrorist attack by a state, which is even much more, problematic and dire and grave than just terrorist attack. But this happens because the proxies that Iran is sending have been weakened. Hamas, for sure, has been weakened tremendously, and from an army, the army of Hamas, if I can call it that way, the army of Hamas has become gangs and maybe groups that are unrelated. There is no structure there like it used to be. Hezbollah is a bit different because the Israeli response, which was for almost a year, I would say a passive response, but defensive response. The real response started only a few days ago. So there is a lot to do there, but I think that the Iranians have understood. Maybe they can give you publicly all sorts of reasons why they did what they did, but they took responsibility, and they did it because their proxies are no more available in the same strength that they were. So they cannot really hide behind their proxies like they did before. As to the Indian response, you know that I'm a big fan of the strategic partnership between India and Israel. India always has a very calculated and balanced and very thought about drafting and publishing statements. I would, as someone who is not in office now, I'm not an official anymore, but India is very, very dear to me. And as an Israeli citizen who's very interested in the continuation of our wonderful partnership, I can say that when you read the statements of Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the 7th of October, it was a very strong and, hugging statement. During the year, and especially in the last few days, I would have hoped India would
right, sir.
Take the picture of what happened, which is really terrible yesterday, historically terrible, and maybe strengthen the reaction of India to what had happened yesterday.
So one last question before we let you go. So how's the situation on the ground? When you opened your conversation with me, you categorically said that things are quite complicated. How are the people reacting, to this kind of an environment and this kind of an urgency and emergency on the ground? And do people support Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu in his actions?
Well, that's another story. We can speak, we can have a different interview about how people think about the prime minister, but it doesn't matter now. Now we're at war. I just came 5 minutes ago from downtown where we're having our preparations to our new year this evening, and things look normal in the center of the country where I live. Things are totally abnormal near the border with Lebanon. This morning, hundreds of rockets continue to be launched from Hezbollah in Lebanon towards Israel. The war is not over. There is a lot to do in order to, eliminate the capabilities of Hezbollah in South Lebanon. People are very proud of what happened yesterday with the interception of hundreds of ballistic missiles. And don't underestimate, please, the gravity of the action by Iran yesterday. But we still have tens of thousands of internally displaced Israelis who live normally near the border with Lebanon and had to move a few months ago. And the celebration of the new year this evening will not be a very joyous one. But as we say in Hebrew, we want to end this year with its curses and await the new year and its blessing. Let's hope that the blessing in the next Jewish New Year will see peace, tranquility, and the eradication of terrorism.
Ambassador Daniel Carmon, appreciate you took out the time, sir, and spoke to us. We wish for your safety and the safety of all our Israeli brothers and sisters. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out the time. All right. Well, we've run out of time. Taking a short break. More news and updates on the other side.